Youth Disability Radio.
Coast FM 963. You're on Raw Youth Disability Radio. Now, joining me in the studio to cover a really cool sport right now is our very own Steve Wheatley. How are you going today, Steve-O?
I'm very good, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Always a pleasure to record with you, sir. And the reason why Steve is here is because joining us on the line are a couple of very special guests indeed. Members of the Australian women's goalball team, also known as the Aussie Bells. We have Jess, we have Caitlin, and we have Zara. How are you girls going today?
Good, thanks.
That's so awesome to hear. Now, I myself have played goalball once, but Steve's much more a professional with it than me. He's representing the state as we speak. So to get a better perspective, more relatable perspective with you guys, I'm going to toss the mic over to him to ask you a few questions.
So I'll start with you first, Jess. What's your disability and how does it affect you?
So I live with a vision impairment. I actually have my left eye is a prosthetic and my right eye has pretty reduced vision in it. So my vision is quite low. I'm classified as legally blind, so I get a few supports here and there to help with that. But otherwise, I guess the biggest impact that it has on me is that I'm unable to drive. So it impacts independence a little bit in that way. But yeah, otherwise, I don't think I get along too badly, considering I try to get past all those barriers. And I'm actually also working with people with low vision at the moment. So I'm trying to kind of use that experience that I have to help other people.
Awesome. Same question to you, Kate. What's your disability?
I have a condition called optic neuropathy, which basically means that my optic nerves don't really work. It's been kind of a sudden degenerative thing in the last maybe 10 years of my life. So like learning to navigate and learning to do things a bit differently has been a very big challenge, but I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah, no, and that's what we all have to do. We all find our own different ways to go through life with our own different abilities. Zara, now, same question to you, my friend. What's your level of vision? What's your disability?
I have a condition called albinism, or oculocutaneous albinism if you're getting fancy, and essentially that means that I have reduced pigment in my skin, hair and eyes. Comes with a bunch of other things as well that I won't break down too far because it all gets a bit scientific. But the biggest challenge for me, I think, is the visual fatigue side of things. You know, your eyes are as much a muscle when it comes to tiring as any other part of your body. And so I find that due to my reduced vision, a big struggle that I have is, you know, my eyes getting really tired and giving me headaches and things like that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. It's definitely a muscle that a lot of people don't actually realise, especially when you're a person with vision impairment, that you do use quite a lot, nearly even sometimes more than your regular muscles. But it still sounds that you all still manage to, like myself even, use whatever vision that you do have to still do all these amazing things, whether it's supporting people or doing normal 9-to-5 work or whatever the case may be. And so I guess I'll probably ask you all this question. Have you had this disability from birth or did it come later on in life?
I actually got my vision loss as a result of eye cancer as a child. So I guess I wasn't technically born with it. It kind of came about when I was around 1 year old. Everything was kind of discovered and I was getting treatment for that. And then when I was 2.5, my eye was removed. So the damage kind of just came from all the treatment as well. And then I had to just learn to live with one eye instead of two.
For me, my condition, like I could see completely well until I was about maybe 7 or 8. And then my vision started deteriorating. And like ever since then, it's kind of just progressively gone down.
I was born with mine. It is a genetic condition and it's often pretty easy to diagnose when the child's born because they, you know, appear pale and have less pigment. I was lucky enough to be diagnosed only, I think, 2 or 3 days after I was born, which meant that my parents could kind of start to learn like all of the ways to help me and the ways that it might impact me, or, you know, also the kind of things that I would be able to do from pretty early on.
Okay, so you've all had it through different points in your life, but again, you've been able to still manage and be able to learn to live with it.
Yeah, definitely. There's certainly some barriers that get in the way when you have vision loss, but there's a lot of support and resources that are available out there that can help us. So it's not completely debilitating, which is good.
Well, girls and Steve, it's been so awesome to hear about the insight into what your disabilities are like and how they affect your vision. It's time for us to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about representing Australia in the amazing sport of goalball. Coast FM 963. You're on Raw Youth Disability Radio, and myself and Stephen Wheatley are being joined on the line right now by a couple of very special guests indeed. 3 members of the Australian women's goalball team, also known as the Aussie Bells. We got Jess, we got Caitlin, and we got Zara still on the line with us. Before the break, they talked to us a little bit about living with visual impairment and the different kinds of disabilities that they live with that have caused that. Now, this segment, we're going to be talking a little bit about their sporting prowess, because he is our resident goalball expert and representative. Stephen Wheatley, take it away.
Oh, thanks, mate. Jess, I'll start with you again. So how long have you been playing goalball, my friend?
It's about 13 years now that I've been playing goalball, so quite a long time.
Wow.
I started in my first year of high school, so quite a while now. Built up some little bits of experience here and there, but yeah, it's been a good 13 years for sure.
13 years? I mean, I know it doesn't seem like it's a long time, but it kind of is a long time if you think about it.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. But it's given me a lot of opportunities over that time as well, so it's definitely been well worth the 13 years.
Kate, how did you get involved with the team, and where did your goalball journey start?
About 2017 when I was in year 7, but probably not actually properly playing like with the Bells until probably about 2022. So I got introduced to goalball I think it was with RIDBC, which is now Next Sense. Went to one of their camps when I was probably in year 6, and I tried goalball and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I immediately kind of fell in love with the sport. I liked that it was something that I could do that my siblings couldn't. Once I got into high school, I was like, okay, it's time to start doing it for real.
Yeah, wow. I tell you what, I love hearing about, and even Angus does too, we love hearing about here on the show, everyone's different stories about how they got involved with things and whether they liked it straight away or if it took a bit of time, how they got involved in it. Zara, how did you get involved in goalball?
In 2019, I actually met this girl at a guide dogs kind of youth camp, and she mentioned this sport called goalball, and I'm like, oh my God. You know, similar to Caitlin, this is something that is specifically designed for people with low vision. Like there's no, mainstream equivalent to it. And I thought, hey, that'd be a really cool thing to try. I started in the junior division, and for a while I was doing both athletics and goalball at the same time. But again, similar to Caitlin, I just found, the community, the intensity of the sport, just the kind of pathway potential of being able to one day represent my country and, be an Aussie Belle was like this absolute, incredible dream to find. And so I gradually drifted more and more toward goalball and gave up athletics.
Did any of you guys represent Australia at the last Paralympics?
None of us did in Tokyo. At the moment, on our current Aussie Bells team, we have 2 out of 6 of us have been representatives at the Paralympic level. Otherwise, most of the rest of us have not been to a Paralympics yet. So that's our big goal, is to break that barrier and get ourselves there and push ourselves hard enough to get there at the next one.
Well, I think you guys can definitely get there. So have you got any big games coming up at the moment? Because there are some big competitions coming up, and then there's nationals coming up at the end of the year.
We do have the Australian Goalball Championships, the Nationals, coming up in October, as you know, Steve, because you're going with us as well, which is very exciting.
Spoiler alert.
Oh.
Yeah. And Zara and I will be on the same team for that one, and we'll be playing against Caitlin this year. So good luck to Caitlin going up against the almighty New South Wales Blues. But
nothing like a bit of friendly rivalry, between friends.
That's it. And that's the fun part that I like about the national championships as well, is that, we do come together every month or so as the Australian team to train together and develop as a team, but then the nationals gives us the chance to kind of split up and just represent our states and play against each other. And in a way, it's kind of good because we know what each other's working on and we know what each other's strengths and weaknesses are, but at the same time, it gives us opportunity to really prove that we can beat each other as well as beat other teams as an Australian team.
You can nearly predict each other's game plan, nearly.
Yep.
And you guys got to use the state of origin success in the rugby league to motivate the Blues to victory. I'm so sorry, Caitlin, but I'm New South Wales born and bred. One more question I want to ask you guys before we wrap up. I know it's looking very far into the future from this point, but unfortunately the Bells, they did miss qualifying for this year's Paralympics, but Brisbane 2032, in 8 years' time, you guys will have the home ground advantage Do you reckon you'll be on the court? I know it's a while away, but you're all still very young. Do you think you'll be there?
That's the end goal, isn't it? I mean, I'm a little older than these other two, so I'll be in my, early to mid-30s by that point. But in my head, that is my prime.
That is the prime.
I'm very, very much ready for it.
You'll be the seasoned leader, Jess.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, well, that's all we got time for, girls. But thanks so much for taking the time to join us, tell us all about your goalball journeys. Steve Wheatley, thanks so much for being the interviewer for this one. And can't wait for Brisbane 2032. 8 years, but who's counting? Am I right? Thanks so much for joining us, Jess, Caitlin, and Zara from the Aussie Bells.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, actually, sorry, I tell a lie. They're actually not going. They're actually going to stay on the line because coming up, we're going to be hearing from the Aussie Bells to give us their favourite Paralympic memory.
Coast FM's Raw. Youth Disability Radio.
Coast FM 963, you're on Raw Youth Disability Radio. And while we've still got the girls on the line with us, it would be remiss of me to not introduce them to our regular Paralympic segment we've been running this season so far. So girls, just wondering, while we've got you, what is your favourite Paralympic memory?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It doesn't have to be a goalball one. It can be any part of the Paralympics.
I've got a goalball one. It kind of probably shows how young I am compared to some of the other players on the team. But like when the girls were still in Tokyo, I wasn't involved with the Bells program yet. I was, kind of still in my little goalball fangirl phase and going, oh my gosh, this is this incredible, amazing sport. And so I was watching the team competing to get into the quarterfinal. And I remember sitting there with absolutely as close to the screen as I could possibly get in my living room in lockdown. And, every time a goal was scored, every time the ball came near the Bells, I'd react or literally physically react and jerk away from it because it was so, the tension was there. And when they finally qualified for the quarterfinal, I think my dad and I both screamed so loud that our neighbour came over and checked on us because she was worried something had gone wrong. But yeah, I think it was that, seeing that and that moment of realising, oh my God, I want to be there for that next, I want to be there one day and be on that team and make it, to the quarterfinals, the semis and the finals and push for that and kind of be a part of that feeling, that they had then. So that's probably my favourite Paralympic moment that I've experienced.
The many greater moments we've watched in the Olympics during lockdown, would you say, Angus, mate?
Oh, 100%. I was definitely following that as well. What else could you do? We were in lockdown and that brought us some great joy. The Bells' great performance there, making it to the quarters. Well, a couple of members of the Australian women's goalball team, the Aussie Bells, joining us on the line right there. Jess, Kate, and Zara, absolute true blue, or should I say true Bell legends. Thanks so much for joining us once again. And before we move on, if you'd like to find out more information about goalball and blind sports in general, you can head to our Facebook page. Just look up Coast FM 963. Scroll down till you see the promo post for tonight's episode of Raw, which was filmed by Steve Wheatley at Goalball Training. There are links on there to the New South Wales Goalball Facebook page and the Blind Sports Australia Facebook page too. And thanks so much once again to the Aussie Bells for joining us on the line tonight in the lead up to the Paralympics.